Welcome to If Not Now, When? The podcast that dares you to live with purpose. Hosted by Eileen Falcon, certified life mastery consultant, soulful guide, and proud mother of 5. Each episode is a heartfelt invitation to embrace gratitude, growth, and bold transformation.
Hi, I'm Eileen Falcon, and this is If Not Now, When?
Hi, I'm Eileen Falcon, podcast If Not Now, When? I am happy and grateful to have my next guest on, Sue Baumer. She is a financial operations specialist and many other labels that she has. And so I would like to introduce Sue. And thank you for being a part of the podcast today. I'm so grateful that you're here.
Hi, Eileen. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be a guest today. Thank you.
Very good. So the podcast is If Not Now, When? So when I pose that question, where does that take you? Or do you have a defining moment that you had to answer that question yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a question, at least for me, can take a couple angles. The first I think of is I'm definitely a culprit of the phrase, I will be happy when. And not so much happiness for me. I'm quite happy in my life right now, but sometimes I'll have moments of feeling I will feel fulfilled when, or perhaps success for me will be defined when XYZ occurs. And that's good for goal setting, but for me, I get stuck in that pattern. Like I have 2 little kids, not little, but they're growing. But I remember thinking, when I have more time, I will do X. And that time really never comes in my experience. So for me, if not now, when, it's a good reminder that I don't need to be in this waiting game, that I'm sort of pre-wired to maintain. Secondarily, so that's like one part of that question. The second thing I think of is, and I don't want to echo what your last guest said, but I feel like in my heart, I have a book inside of me. And I know a lot of people say that, and they have a story to tell. They have just something that they want to get out, especially in book form. And for me, this started over 25 years ago. Just a quick backstory. So I grew up Catholic. So the higher power of my understanding, I call God, more specifically Jesus. And in my 20s, I had a profound experience of meeting the Lord. I had walked the walk for my whole life, but I really didn't have a close relationship with him. And so I was on a retreat, and I just had this beautiful experience, and that began our friendship and my journey of walking with the Lord. And so now, cut to 20 something years later, it's a strong relationship. It's really solid. But when I did have that profound experience all that time ago, I was prompted to begin journaling. And I remember it once being said that prayer is you talking to God, meditation is you listening. And so I tried that pattern of talking and listening, but also journaling at the same time. And what started to develop was this beautiful writing that I would do. And the closer I got with the Lord, the more I started to hear. And I knew it wasn't my words, it was my voice, but it certainly weren't my thoughts. And so I took it as the Lord kind of guiding me on what to write. And I was open. But then the caveat was, the deal that I heard in my head was, write down what you hear in prayer. Like, write down what you feel you want to write in these sessions. But don't read it. Just close the book at the end of the writing session for that night. And then the next day, and I had long days at that time. I worked on Wall Street, and I just had these really super long days at work, and I would come home pretty exhausted, but this became a ritual for me. And so the next day I would open up this journal, find the next blank page, write down whatever I felt inspired to write, close the book up. And that went on for about 3 or 4 years, every night, every day. It was very consistent. And it started with some thoughts and not revelations, but just some guidance, I think, in my current life at that time, more personal reflections on things that maybe I was worried about, things I was thinking about. And then it turned into more of like a global wisdom, like the world should hear some of these things. And I think of like Dave Ramsey, right? I don't know if you're familiar, but his whole thing is what he shares in his books and his wisdom is not profound. It's not things that you haven't heard before. It's just a collection of wisdom that he has put together through his experiences. So a lot of the things you'll read is not something that you haven't heard. You may have not heard it for the first time, but it's just a one-stop shop for that kind of focus, like financial wisdom. So this was what I was feeling, where it wasn't these profound things. It's a lot of it was in the Bible. A lot of it was just life stuff, from what I remembered, but I couldn't read it. And so that was the part that I was being very obedient on. And it was new for me because usually I would read and read what I wrote. And so this went on and on and on. And I just stayed faithful and I just kept it going. And then one day, I don't know if it was a certain day or a holiday or what, but it was revealed that I should start to read what I had wrote and to kind of put the pen down, but now do more reflection on what I wrote. And I read over a few months every night of what I wrote, and it was amazing. It was just so beautiful. And they were absolutely not my words and my reflections. Like these are things and concepts I couldn't have made up myself. And so then the process was, okay, put this into a book. Like this was to be shared. This wasn't for you to keep. I took a writing workshop, and I remember one of the authors that shared said, in a very funny way, I'm going to say it more direct, but it was in a kind of joyful tone. If you have something in your heart where you feel like you need to write a book, don't be selfish and keep it from the world. Don't keep it for yourself because you're just being lazy and you're just being selfish and you're not getting it out into the world. And that really sat with me because I thought, here are these words that I really didn't ordain, like they're not from me. And I want to be able to bless others through the words. So then I was like, okay, I'll write it on a website. So I typed it all out from my journals. I spent some time doing that. And every stage I got, it just was longer in between when I picked it up again. So now it's like 25 years later. And sometimes I'll go back. About 5 years later, I went back and I read what I wrote again, thinking I'll restart the project. And what I'm struggling with is it's not my tone of voice anymore, because it's been so long, right? It's not really how I would talk or write anymore. I don't know if it's maturity or just change, but I almost feel like a fraud trying to now go back and write what I had written all those years ago. And so then it just became, I'm just going to put it down again. And so when you say, if not now, when? I don't have a very good answer because I don't know what will prompt me to pick this up and sort of finish this thing that I have been working on for all these years. But I know it needs to get out there. Every time in prayer, it's this little voice. You got to start this book. You got to do this project. You got to take the next step. And so when you ask that question, that's what I think about.
Well, I want to reflect back on some of the things you brought up with time, right? You're a mom with young children and a busy life. You wear many hats and you're being pulled this and left and right and stuff. And there's 168 hours in the week, right? So we have to decide how we're going to spend that time. Yes, some of that time is devoted to things that have to get done. But then there's also, we have to give ourselves permission that I'm going to take an hour out of my day and just have fun with this idea. And that I wrote a book, and that book started on my heart 25 years ago. That idea. Well, actually, let me backtrack. When I was 12 years old, there was a invalid man that lived across the street, couldn't really leave his home. And us teenagers would do the food shopping for him. And then he would allow us to go up and hang out with him. And I was always like doodling on a piece of paper. And he said to me when I was like 12, 13 years old, you're going to write a book one day. And I'm like, about what? And he's like, I don't know, but you always have pen to paper. And so now, years later, the book idea comes to mind. And from, my if not now moment, like when my dad passed away, and it was like, okay, now what? Like, where does my life go and stuff? And I started writing my gratitude list and inviting other people to join me, and we're starting this gratitude circle. And yeah, you're one of those members. And I just started writing down all my gratitude daily on a yellow legal size piece of paper, years and years and years of papers. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what am I going to write a book about? And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm writing a book about gratitude. And I don't know who's going to read it. I don't know who it's going to reach, but like you, there's a need for it, right? So even if I can't control who's going to pick up the book or who's going to be attracted to it, but I had a calling to write the book. That's all I was responsible for. And so I want to encourage you. Let me take a little short track here. The reason why I asked you to be on the podcast for this week is look at the week we're in, and I was like, who better? Who better than to have Sue on talking about her faith? She's proud of her walk. She doesn't shy away from it. And so you do have a calling to get it out there. And so maybe, if not now, when, maybe like start with where you're at today, right? And then reflect on where you were in the past and what was on your heart then. And somehow, your job is just to keep showing up, right? And your job is not to put it together yet or even know how it's going to be put together, but just to keep showing up and listening to that calling and that intuition. And so if not now, when, you are doing the footwork, and if not now, when it's that moment, it's just going to come to you, but you've been doing the footwork for a long, long time. So I just want to encourage you to just keep showing up, and, you don't have to have all the answers now, but just keep showing up.
That's very encouraging, because as you're talking, I'm also thinking, just this past week, right? As an example, my daughter got the flu, and I have been by her bedside for 2 or 3 days. And I found the time to do that. Yes, it was critical. Yes, it was necessary. But if I'm really honest with myself, I do have the time. I can carve out that special time. I know people that wake up early to exercise because that's very important to them, and they do it before their kids wake up. I know there are solutions, and even just talking it out with you right now is really helping me formulate from an abstract, I'll find the time, to what does that actually mean in my life? How can I carve out that time, especially if it's been a priority? I mean, I bless the day that I won't have this stirring in my heart, where it's not this thing in the back of my mind, like you have to finish, not you have to finish, but it's just more, I want to do it. So even just you encouraging me in that small way, like it's meaning a lot to me.
Yeah. And it looks like the room that you're sitting in is your creation room.
Yes.
Right? You do a lot of creating in there.
Yeah.
And so again, kids are at school, you get to decide a half hour, 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be this, and that's what a lot of people struggle with. Like, where am I going to find the time? I have so many responsibilities. And it's like, you're the only one that can give yourself permission to do it. I'm going to do when I'm having my morning coffee. I'm going to, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. Wayne Dwyer was a big role model for me, because I remember he shared how he decided to write a book. He knew he was going to write a book, but didn't know the name of the title, didn't know what it was going to be about, but he knew he was meant to write a book. So he bought a journal and put a brown paper bag wrapping on it and just wrote his name on the spine and put it on his bookshelf.
Oh, fun.
And I was like, start there.
Yeah.
And I did that. I went out, bought an empty journal, wrapped it in the round paper, put my name on it. I put Gratitude 5 on it because I knew that was going to be the title. And then I just put it on the shelf so I could see it. And maybe I didn't do anything with it for a couple of months, but it was just this friendly reminder of, it's calling you. It's calling you. You can't keep ignoring it. You know what I mean? It's going to it's going to be on your heart.
Yeah.
It's going to be on your mind and stuff like that. So again, only you can give yourself that permission and listen for the calling and, the intuition,
Yeah.
is the time now, let me plant a seed as you have been for the last 20,
Yeah.
25 years and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
something's going to come from it. And when you think about when you said like, oh, like my last guest talked about a book too. I teach people every day, and some of my workshops have like 90 people in it. And I'm like, everybody is writing their story.
Mm.
Everybody's writing a story daily. And
Mhm.
whatever chapter you're in now, that's the chapter that you're focusing on. You have a couple of chapters from your past. You have no idea what the future chapters are going to hold, but you're in a chapter of your story right now. And if not now, when are you going to write that? When are you going to create
Mhm.
it? Because again, at the end of the day, we ourselves are the only one that can give ourselves permission to, you know what, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes today,
Yeah.
or I'm going to get up and exercise,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
today I have to take care of a sick child. It might not be, you might make a plan and then, we make plans and who laughs? God has a plan and your job
Yeah.
is just to keep showing up.
Yeah. I love the idea of wrapping the book and putting it on a shelf because I'm such a visual person. Like that to me would be such a great, gentle reminder, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not too pushy, but it's forward thinking. It's like when Jim Carrey wrote himself $1 million check to his dad or
Mm-hmm.
something, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of that. And I also think of like the Jesus Calling book, Sarah Young. Um, it's like what I read was similar to those little snippets, right? It's just like a snippet just of some wisdom from the Lord. But I know she wrote it when she was sick, if I understand correctly. So in my mind, I'm like, please don't make that be a catalyst, please don't
Mm-hmm.
because I'm very much a procrastinator. And then when you light something, a fire under me, I will get it done. It will always get done, but my method may look mad to some people. But even just this, we're leading up to Christmas this week, and I started in October preparing for Christmas, and I did it slowly. And it was the first time that I'm like done wrapped. I'm enjoying the season, and I have a different demeanor, and I have a different presence of mind entering this season. I'm more appreciative. I'm spending time with the family. I'm not that stressed. And so, in thinking of this book, I always thought I might need like a little fire under me to get this going. But I think what you're saying is just begin. And I can see just in this Christmas preparation how well I did with starting early and doing a little at a time versus this Christmas Eve wrapping session that I typically will do until 3 a.m. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a great reminder for me as well.
Yeah, well, you know me and I've been following God's calling for
Mhm.
about 25 years. I too was raised Catholic, so it was always in my life and, rely on God and he'll guide you and stuff like that. But I feel like with my dad's passing, it definitely, my relationship too changed. It became more of like a friend, a really smart friend who knew better than I did. And so my journey has definitely been one of just keep showing up, just keep
Mhm.
showing up. You don't have to have all the answers.
Mhm.
I think I'm going to go this way. I know best. And then I'm like, yeah, God's like, no, you're going this way. And I'm like, I don't know about over there. I thought it looks fun over here. It looks safer over here.
Yeah.
And, my journey of the last 25 years has been one for the books because who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? And so even like with this, and I have goals and dreams too for 2026, but my job is to show up and put the effort in and then
Mhm.
step back and let it unfold the way it's supposed to.
Mhm.
Because when the manipulation and the trying to control things or whatever, for me, that doesn't work. And so I've gotten this far on trusting
Mhm.
the plan, and I want to keep doing that because left
Mhm.
to my own devices, I might mess it up or miss the next blessing.
Right. Right. I love the phrase "if not now, if not now, when." I'm responsible for the effort and not the outcome.
Mm,
I will do, okay, I need to do this so that this turns out this way, and then this will turn out this way. And I have that whole plan, thinking about, I once read a book on how to get a book published and the steps it takes to, and this was old school, but sending information to publishers and creating that package for them to read through, and all of the big houses, and just kind of like getting guidance on that. And I was so stressed out with that whole process because I was trying to absorb all the information at one time when I was really still on step one. I hadn't even written the thing yet, but yet I was already here, and I was trying to control that entire process and try and get all the information. But if I just take a bite-sized step, you're right, I will then be led to step 2. And then I'll be ready and prepared for step 3, versus me trying to control this whole picture and not being patient, with each step in itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why I know I myself included, before, where do I find the time? How do I give myself permission? That's selfish. I have 5 children. When am I ever, it's all about them and stuff like that. And I think people struggle with giving themselves permission, that, finding the balance of, yes, I have a responsibility of taking care of my children, my family, and other responsibilities, but I also have a responsibility of taking care of myself physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, all of it, so that I can bring my best foot forward and be, really productive in different ways for my family and stuff like that. Because if we keep being pulled and pulled and pulled, and we don't feed our soul in some way or another, we're going to be empty, right? That empty well. And then what could happen and stuff like that. So, for people, and I meet people daily like, oh, I can't do that, or I don't have the time, I don't have the money. It's almost like we do. You know, I've been saying for like the last year, I need time, I need time, I need time. And then I was doing a training one day, and I hear everybody has the same amount of time. You're not prioritizing what's important to you. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that really was a catalyst for me in the last couple of weeks, that finding the balance. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to clean my house for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to go on the computer and answer emails that will move me forward in, the next step that I want to go to and stuff. So it's really giving yourself permission that I have a right, I can, and what am I here for? And you do have a calling on your heart that, and when you're talking about like Sarah Young in the Jesus Calling book, you know, there are books out there in the recovery world that are written by people. It's not written by an author. People contribute to this book, and then a book is formed or whatever, and it's the words of everyday people. And
Yeah.
so you have an audience out there, you just haven't met them yet,
I
you
love that.
know?
Yeah.
Right. So we have about 5 minutes left. So what would you say to listeners about that question? If not now, when? How would you want to motivate them?
I would say search your heart for what that really means. When I started to think about it, kind of surface level stuff came to mind, like easy, right? But when I started to dig a little deeper, I realized that if I was really honest with myself, I knew, especially like this book, right? I knew what was there. I knew what I had been putting off, making excuses on, avoiding. And so if there's something in your life like that, and if something will come to mind where, like, I know that you know what I'm talking about, search that, explore that, be patient with it, have grace with it, but love yourself enough to really dig deep, because that's where the magic can happen. And that's where something beautiful may begin. Like after this conversation, I now have ideas of what I can do to put this in motion. It may not be at the speed that I would want it to be at, but at least it's progress. So progress, not perfection.
Yeah, as you were sharing, I was thinking of when I help people with that. Where do I begin? What does it look like, or whatever? I tell them to get a blank piece of paper and put one word in the middle of the paper. And from that one word, just put more words. Any
Mm.
word that comes to your mind. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It might not even make sense to you or whatever, but like kind of like what you were doing, right? You're just writing from the heart. You close the book. You're not really critiquing it. You're not like, oh, scratching it out. You were just pouring out your heart, and then it got on paper. So the same thing. If not now, when? Kind of get clear. I want to work on this area, this area, this area. Just put it all on paper. Well, if I went this way, where would that take me? And ideas or whatever. And I really think that more clarity will come in for people, that you first getting it out of your head, right? We've heard that this is a very dangerous neighborhood to
Yeah.
be in here alone. And
Yes.
it's the same thing with thoughts and ideas and where do I begin and the fear and what's that going to look like and what's going to be asked of me. Just have fun with it. Just write it on a piece of paper, close the book, leave it alone, pick it up again, and just keep journaling about what's on your heart. And eventually it will start making sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So, so 2026 is before us, and who knows what that will mean as far as your creation and where it might take you or whatever. But I just want to keep encouraging you to keep doing what you're doing, because you've been doing it just for your own benefit, but there's definitely something that's going to come from that. And really quick, when you brought up like back in the day, writing a book was like, yeah, you had to send it to 1,000 publishers, and today it's very different for people, more and more people, because everyone does have a story,
Yeah.
and there's an audience out there. So I really want to encourage you to do it. Just go for it.
Yeah.
And,
Do it.
and then when it happens, I'll have you back on, and we'll celebrate that, and,
Yeah.
we'll talk about it and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe in
All
a
right.
year we'll be celebrating the milestone.
There you go. There you
Well,
go.
thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being a guest. All right. And Merry Christmas to you and your family.
You too. You too.
All right. And Happy New Year. And I'm looking forward to what 2026 holds for you.
Thank you. And same to you. What a successful venture you're on. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Bye, you too.
Thanks for joining us for another wonderful podcast with Sue Baumer. I want to encourage all of you to continue to ask yourself that question, if not now, when? And if you would like to speak with me and maybe be a guest on a future podcast, I would love for you to reach out to me at eileenfalcon.com, and we'll have a conversation. Thank you.